Okay, right. So this topic here is about polynomial division. It's or algebraic division. Basically here, at the end of this lesson, you should be able to divide the polynomial by means of long division. Basically, what we need to do here is doing polynomial division. It's a long division. So you will be given an equation and a factor for it, and you need to divide the equation by the factor in terms of x plus a, like this here, all right? So sometimes when you do the long division, you will have no remainder, so the remainder will be 0, and sometimes you will have a remainder. Same thing as when you divide numbers, like for example here we have 25 divided by 5 is 5. There is no remainder because 5 times 5 is 25. And on the other example here, 25 divided by 2 is a 12 and the remainder 1, because 12 times 2 is 24, so there is a remainder 1, okay? Same thing, what we call the 12 here, we call it the quotient, and the 1 here is the remainder. So maybe you will be asked to do a long division and then to write down your quotient and your remainder. So the quotient is your answer from the long division, and the remainder is what's left at the end. Sometimes you don't have remainder, like the first one here. The remainder here is 0. So the quotient is 5 and remainder is 0. There is no remainder here. Okay, oops, where I am. Yeah. So when you divide y equals x cubed plus 2x squared minus 3x plus 4 by x plus 3, you will have the following answer. So when we will divide this, you will have x squared minus x, and we call this the quotient, and there will be 4 at the bottom as a remainder. Yeah, I'll show you how to work it out. And the remainder here will be at the bottom, staying over. So here the quotient x squared minus x, and the remainder is 4. We can also write it in a different way. Yeah, the equation you're given in the question itself, you can write it as the multiplication of the vector of it, yeah, of the factors. So basically, when we are dividing this by x plus 3, if you say it this way, so x cubed plus 2x squared minus 3x plus 4, if you divide by x plus 3, that means x plus 3 is a factor, is one of the factors. So when you divide this by that, you will get the answer as x squared, as I said, minus x. So you'll get x squared, that's the quotient here, x squared minus x. I'll show you how to do it. And there will be a remainder here equals 4. So you can write it this way, which is the product, means the multiplication of the quotient here and multiplied by the x plus 3, the factor. So this is the x plus 3, what we divided by. And this is the quotient, and plus the remainder here. You can write it this way as well. So this is the example here. I'll just write it down and I'll go to the blackboard and write it there. Just I need a pen. I need a pen to write it and move to the other page. Minus 4 minus 7x divided by x plus 2. Right, I'll move to this page. So I have the division for this as x cubed minus 4x squared minus 7x plus 10 divided by x plus 2, right? So maybe this question, they don't give it to you as a long division. They will say find the quotient and the remainder for this divided by x plus 2. Yeah, or maybe maybe this way: x cubed minus 4x squared minus 7x plus 10. over x plus 2, right? So that means divided by x plus 2. So anyway, we'll do the long division now. So to start with the long division, you start with what they call the leading term here, which is the x cubed, and you divide x cubed by this leading here is x. So how many x in x cubed is x squared? Yeah, so that's x squared. And now x squared times x is x cubed. You write it down here. X cubed, did I say x squared? Sorry. And then plus 2 times x squared is 2x squared. So now what we do, we subtract. And when we subtract, that means you're going to change the signs basically, because x cubed minus x cubed is going to be 0 here. So this is going to be 0. Subtract like you do minus. And then minus 4x squared minus 2x squared is minus 6x squared. Right? What I do personally, I don't want to confuse you. Some people, they get confused with this. But for me, I know it. So because I know it's subtract, basically that means all these signs, they're going to be changed. So that was originally plus, it's going to become minus, and then you add them. So x cubed minus x cubed, that's 0. And minus 4x squared, this becomes, because we are subtracting, so it becomes minus 2x squared. So we end up with minus 6x squared. And now I finished with this. I will put down the minus 7x, put it down. So this minus 7x. And now I'll start with my leading term, which is the minus 6x squared. This is the leading here. And the leading is always on this side, is always here, the x. So minus 6x squared divided by x is minus 6. Right. So now we have minus 6x squared divided by x is minus 6x. So it's minus 6x. Now minus 6x, you multiply by the x, so it's minus 6x squared. Okay? And minus times plus is minus. 6 times 2 is 12x. And now we subtract. As I said, that's the way I do it. Just make it easy. I don't need to think about it. Just change the signs here and add them. So this is going to be minus 6 plus 6 is 0. And then minus 7 plus 12 is plus 5x. Right? And now we have the last term here. 10, we put it down, plus 10. And the leading term is the 5x. And again, you do 5x divided by x, which is plus 5, yeah? Because it's positive 5, so plus 5 divided by x is plus 5. So it's plus 5 here. Then you multiply 5 times x is 5x. And plus times plus is plus, 5 times 2 is 10. And then we subtract. As I said, there's going to become minus, there's going to become minus. So plus 5 minus 5x is 0, and 10 minus 10 is 0. So there is no remainder here. So the quotient is, just do it. The quotient is x squared minus 6x plus 5, and the remainder is 0. So the quotient equals x squared minus 6x plus 5, and the remainder is, what is it? 0. And that's it. Okay? You can take a picture for it now, because now when I go back to the slides, this will be removed, will be deleted. I can't go back to it. So the quotient is x squared minus 6x plus 5, and remainder equals 0. Is it okay to move now? Go back?
Yes, you can remove. I took a picture.
Okay, so So that was the question, and they did it here step by step as well. So if you want to follow this, it's telling you like the leading term, which is x cubed, divided by the leading term here, which is x, and you get x squared. And then you multiply, this is meant to be multiply, x squared by x, and what you get down there, yeah? So it's really step by step if you struggle with it to follow. And that's r equals 0, and the quotient. So here are the quotient. The quotient is x squared minus 6x plus 5, and the remainder is 0. Okay? I just put it to Q. You need to write it like the quotient equals this, and the remainder equals this. And also, we can write it in this format as x plus 2. This is the factor that what we divided by. And x squared minus 6x plus 5, this is the quotient. So this is the quotient. And plus r, that's the remainder, 0. Okay.
So it's easier to use the long division and then solve this, right?
Yes, there is another method. I'm not going to mention it. I don't want to confuse you because that method is just, some people, they know it. So if they're happy with it, they can carry on with it. If you do the long division,
Okay.
It's nice and easy.
Okay. I feel like the division is easier than the other one. That one has too many steps.
Sorry?
No, it's okay.
Okay. Is this the same question?
Miss,
Yes.
if the remainder is 0, so we need to write plus 0, or don't need to write plus 0?
If the question asks you to find the quotient and the remainder, then just to mention it like remainder equals 0.
Also, if it doesn't mention, so we don't need to write plus 0.
Not mention it, write it to plus 0. Better, just to be on the safe side. Okay? But if you're mentioning that in writing, saying quotient is this and remainder is this. So if the remainder is 0, just say remainder is 0. Same as the example was here. They just mention it. Okay?
So you're saying to add the signs in front of the 0, the plus or minus.
Pardon?
You just now said, right? We have to write the plus sign in front of 0.
Plus 0, yeah, that's the remainder. Like this slide here in front of you. So plus 0 is the remainder. But if you write it down like the first 2 steps here, quotient is this and the remainder is 0. Okay? From current. I'll just go through it instead of the steps. Again, x cubed divided by x. So this divided by this is x squared times x is x cubed plus 3 times x squared is plus 3x squared. We subtract, so we change the signs here. So this is going to be 0. 2x squared minus 3x squared is minus x squared, right? Now we put this down, it's minus 3x. The minus x squared divided by x is minus x. Now, minus x times x is minus x squared. Minus x times 3 is minus 3x. And we subtract. When we subtract, it's like we are changing these signs, basically. So this is going to become 0, and this become 0, yeah? And we still have a term here, which is 4. This 4 here, it doesn't have x, so I can't carry on. I can't say 4 divided by x. So what you do here, you just leave it as a remainder. Yes, so you will say the quotient equals x squared minus x, and the remainder is 4. So I'll show you here. So the quotient is x squared minus x, and the remainder is 4. And also you can write it this way, as this is the x plus 3 what we divided by, and this was the quotient, and this was the remainder. And this is what we call the divisible, the number we divided by. Okay? So you can write it this way as well. These are some questions for you to try, and it has the answers they work it out, part C and F, let's say. So they solve it out down here for you, the solution for A, B, C, D, E, F. Let's see F here. So the F, we have 3x cubed plus 16x squared plus okay. The question was, it was 3x cubed plus 16x squared plus 72. Yeah, the question itself was 3x cubed plus 16x squared plus 72. And there was no term for the x. So that's why, if you notice here, yeah, put it, when you do the long division, put it in the place. So you put it as 0x, as they did here in the division. So they wrote it down as a 3x cubed plus 16x squared plus 0x. Just keep the place for it. It's 0 times x is going to be 0. But you keep it because when you will work out the division, you will need it. You will have some terms in x. And then plus 72. That's the trick. I mean, that's why they wanted your attention on this question. So when you divide 3x squared by x is a 3x squared, a 3x cubed, sorry, divided by x is a 3x squared, and then 3x squared times x is 3x cubed. Then plus 6 times a 3 is 18x squared. And then now you subtract. When you subtract, this is going to change the sign. So 16x squared minus 18x squared is minus 2x squared. Now we put this term down, which is 0x. So, and then we have minus 2x squared divided by x, which is minus 2x, and the quotient, yeah? Minus 2x times x is minus 2x squared, I'm here. And then minus 2x times x times 6 is minus 12x. And then now we subtract. And when we subtract, it's like we are changing these signs. So this becomes 0. And 0x plus 12x, it's 12x. And then we put this term down, which is the 72. So now it's 12x plus 72 divided by x. Basically, 12x divided by x is 12. So this plus 12. 12 times x is 12x plus 6 times 12 is 72. Then we subtract, then this is going to be 0, 0, because this is going to be minus. Yeah? So the remainder here is 0, and the quotient is 3x squared minus 2x plus 12. Okay? So you have first a few examples. They did it step by step for you. And also I just did the questions for you in step by step. And also you have the video you can watch if you need any help in YouTube. So try to do a practice with these, and you have the answers for them anyway. And you have some questions in the book, you can practice and check your answer. It's about, right, something called the factor theorem. That's, if you want to read about it in your book, page 24, yeah, the factor theorem. And that's page 24 in your book. So basically, factor theorem, it's saying if f of x is a polynomial, it means it has more than one term, and f of a equals 0, then x minus a is a factor of f of x. Okay, this is the factor theorem. So if f of x is a polynomial and fa equals 0, then x minus a is a factor of f of x. So that means, for example, to show if something is a factor or not. So show that 2x plus 1. Use the factor theorem to show that is a factor. Right, that's exercise 4.3. Use the factor theorem to show that x minus 1 is a factor of x cubed minus x squared minus 3x plus 3. So to show x minus 1 is a factor, what we need to do, we choose some factors. Yeah, it's like trial and error. You start with 1, minus 1, or 2, minus 2. Yeah, just as small numbers, and you should be able to reach what you need. So we take a factor, let's say 1, and I'll do f for 1. Choose a factor, say 1. Yeah, f for 1, and you substitute in this equation, in this expression, each x, put it as 1. If the answer at the end equals 0, then we say x minus 1 is a factor. So we'll try f of 1, that's f of a. Yeah? If f of a equals 0, then that means x minus a is a factor. So let's try f of 1 here. It's going to be 1 cubed minus 1 squared minus 3 times 1 plus 3. So this is 1 cubed, which is 1, minus 1, minus 3 plus 3. Is that add up to 0? Yes. So f of 1 here is equal 0. Therefore, x minus 1, yeah, it's always opposite to the number you took in as f of fa. So therefore, x minus 1 is a factor. Is a factor for this expression. When we say it's a factor, that means if I do a long division for this term, if I do a long division for this divided by x minus 1, I shouldn't get a remainder. Yeah, the remainder will be 0. Okay, I'll do another one for you. I'm working on exercise 4.3. This is exercise 4.3, page 24. So this is question 1. I did question 1A above, and I can do, let's say, which one's this? D. So D, it's saying x, show that x minus 3 is a factor. Yeah, show that x minus 3 is a factor. I mean, even in this type of question, when they say show it is a factor, because it's x minus 3, so immediately I will substitute f of 3, and I see, because I said this x minus 3, it's like opposite of what we put in A. So I will try f over 3. If this equals 0, I will say, okay, therefore x minus 3 is a factor. So is a factor of x cubed of x cubed plus 2x squared minus 9x minus 18, right? So I will substitute f3 in this term. So f3 equals 3 cubed plus 2 times 3 squared, which is 9, minus 9 times 3 minus 18. So 3 cubed, it's 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27. Help me with your calculator, please. Plus 2 times 9, which is 18, minus 27 minus 18. Actually, I don't need your calculator. As you can see, 27 minus 27, that's 0. 18 minus 18, that's 0. Therefore, is f over 3 is 0. Therefore, x minus 3 is a factor of x cubed plus 2x squared minus 9x minus 18. So when we say a factor, that means if I divide, this means x cubed plus 2x squared minus 9x minus 18 divided by x minus 3 will have no remainder. This means, that means you can divide this function by x minus 3 and we will get a quadratic. So divided by x minus 3, you will get a quadratic term. That means x squared something. Yeah? Right. I hope you understand this. Another thing I want to explain here, I think this is the last session we have this week because Friday is a Good Friday. It's the Easter bank holiday thing. So today is the last lesson for this week. I'll go through the things here with you and you will have time to practice. And next week I will see you again if you have any question about it. But the next thing I'm going to show you, explain to you, is factorizing a cubic. So this is on page 25. Okay, factorizing a cubic when, well, they put it here, just I'm going to explain what they mean because it's not very clear. When x isn't a factor. What they mean by this, if we look at the term, let's say x cubed plus 6x squared plus 5x minus 12, yeah? We look at these terms. Is x a common factor for all of them? Someone answer me, please. Can you see, is x a common factor for all of them? No answer? You meant to answer, guys.
Maybe.
Anyway, so.
No,
No, thank you. Is that Abdullah?
you're welcome.
Thank you. So x is not common factor for all of them. Although, as you can see, x is here and here and here, but it's not on the minus 12. So that's why they call it here in the title when you open your book, where they put when x is not a factor. So you have a cubic function, but not like x is not a common factor for all the terms. That's what they meant about it. Just I wanted to explain that and make it clear for you. Okay, now what to do in this kind of question? They ask you to factorize, for example, here. Yeah, so this is example from the book as well. Factorize, or fully factorize, something like that, you will see. So factorize these terms. They didn't say divide by anything. They didn't say what's the factor, just factorize. So to do this, first thing you need to do is you think about the factor theorem, which is just what I explained now. Okay, so look at the factors. You try, you know, the trial and error, or if you want, look at the last term here, the 12. What's the factors of the 12? It's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 6 and 12. All these are factors of 12. You can start with one of them. So you always start with the small numbers. If it doesn't work, move to something harder. So I will start with the one here, okay? So what we do, you apply the factor theorem Right. So let's say I will take f of 1 and I'll see if it works or not. And I'll substitute in this equation, term, expression. So it's going to be 1 cubed plus 6 times 1 squared plus 5 minus 12. If it's add up to 0, yeah, then that means x minus 1 is a factor. So 1 plus 7 plus 6, that's 7, plus 5, that's 12, minus 12 equals 0. Yeah, happy? Yes. F of 1 equals 0, therefore x minus 1 is a factor. Okay, what does that mean? If it's a factor, how to factorize your question here? So to factorize, you need to do, so this is like 2-in-1 question. So now you found your factor, and now you need to do the long division. Yeah, so now you will do, change the color for you. So this is going to be a long division of what? X cubed plus 6x squared plus 5x minus 12, right? So this is my original expression divided by the factor, which is the x minus 1. So you do the long division now to find the quotient, okay? This is an important question. Right, so x cubed divided by x is, Abdullah, can you help me with this? X cubed divided by x. We always start with the leading term. So the leading term here is x cubed and x. So x cubed divided by x, Abdullah?
Again, sorry.
X
I was
cubed
coughing.
divided by x.
Okay.
What is it?
Last time again, sorry. I was talking.
Okay, look
Again.
at it. Look at it this way if you want. X cubed over x.
Mhm.
So you cancel this x and you cancel 1 from here. This time I did
It's
it.
gonna be x. Yeah.
It's x squared. I'll
Yeah.
ask you again, okay? Just wait for me. So that's x squared here. X squared times x is x cubed minus 1 times x squared is x squared. Everyone get ready, I'm going to ask you. Okay, now we subtract. So this is going to become 0. And as I said, when we subtract, you change the signs if you want this way. 6x squared plus 1 is 7x squared. Now I will put this term down, plus 5x, right? Now, z,
Okay.
right? 7x squared divided by x, z.
It's 7x.
Excellent. So it's a plus 7x, yeah? Plus 7x. Yeah. And then 7x times 7 is 7x squared, then minus 7x. And we subtract, this becomes positive here. So this is going to become 0. 5x plus 7x, that's 12x. Now I will put this terms down, which is the minus 12. What's the leading term, Rana?
I'm sorry?
Which one is the leading term?
Minus 12. This 12x minus 12.
Okay, the leading term is the 12x. When we say leading term, it means which one we are dividing by. We're going to divide, yeah? So we will start now with 12x. 12x divided by x, Rana?
12x divided by x?
Yes?
The same, 12x.
Really? 12x divided by x?
I don't know.
Look at that screen. 12, yes?
12.
Is it plus or minus?
Minus.
Minus.
It's a plus, guys, because it is a plus 12 here. Yeah, I did 5x plus 7x, which is plus 12x. It's positive x at 12. So 12 divided by 12x divided by x is 12. So you put it plus 12. right?
Yes.
So 12 times x is 12x. Then 12 times minus 1. Are you with me? Following me? Yeah? 12
Yes.
times minus 1 is minus 12. Now we subtract. So when we subtract, I told you like.
It's going to be plus 12.
So this is going to be 0. Then minus 12 plus
0.
12 is another 0 here. So I didn't finish yet this kind of question. So you found, now we divide, we found the quotient, which is a quadratic, x squared plus 7x plus 12. Yeah, they asked to factorize. So that means I can write down, therefore this means x cubed plus 6x squared plus 5x minus 12. It's same as, you write it down as x minus 1, the blue thing we divided by, multiplied by the quotient, x squared plus 7x plus 12.
Plus 12.
Yeah, and we don't have a remainder here anyway. If we have a remainder, we will put a plus the remainder. But for now, that's what it is. And also, because it's fully factorized or factorized, then the next step, you need to factorize this green one, the quadratic. You can if it's something you can factorize it easier without the quadratic formula. Then you need to maybe you use quadratic formula as well, but it's easier if you just do it the normal way. Then you can write it down as x minus 1. That's the first one. And then x squared plus 7x plus 12, it's basically, it's two brackets here, x and x. And the 12, it's a 3 and 4. If you multiply them, you will get 12. If you add them, you will get 7. So these are the right ones, x plus 3, x plus 4. So this is the fully factorized. Yeah? So
Yes.
therefore, x cubed plus 6x squared plus 5x minus 12 equals these three factors multiplied together, and that's it.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yes.
Happy, happy?
Happy, happy.
Excellent. I think, what time is it? The time is finished. Are you enjoyed this lesson? You understand it, hopefully?
So much.
Okay, what's my advice? As I said, just a minute, please, guys, don't go.
Take your time.